Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Kim Owen. We warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Robert Nelson Burgess, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Please sit if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozieres, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Robert Nelson Burgess. Robert Burgess was born on the 21st of October 1917, the youngest of three boys born to Ernest and Stella Burgess of Werribee, Victoria. Burgess was a keen sportsman and was active in his local community. He was a foundation member of the Werribee Militia Detachment, a local military force, and worked as a shop assistant in his family's grocery business. Burgess enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 29th of May 1940 at Caulfield in Melbourne. A day later, he was posted to D Company of the 2nd Pioneer Battalion, and on account of his valuable militia experience, was promoted to sergeant. Burgess and the 2nd Pioneer Battalion trained at Puckapunyal to the north of Melbourne, and in April 1941 sailed from Sydney to join the war in the Middle East. Months after Robert's enlistment, his older brother Eric also enlisted. Eric Burgess joined the 224th Battalion and later served in the defence of Tobruk in North Africa. In May 1941, Robert Burgess and the 2nd Pioneer Battalion disembarked at Port Tewfik on the Suez Canal and soon encamped at Hill 95 to the northeast of Gaza in Palestine. The battalion continued their training there, got used to the hot and dry desert conditions, and spent their leave time exploring the sites of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. In June 1941, the 2nd Pioneer Battalion joined Exporter Force, a joint force comprising Australian and British units tasked with fighting against Vichy French forces in Syria and modern-day Lebanon. On the 6th of June, the 4 companies of the 2nd Pioneer Battalion were split up to allow them to support different units in the campaign. Burgess and D Company were placed under command of the 25th Brigade. Pioneer battalions supported infantry units by providing additional defence, as well as by conducting essential repair work. From the 10th of June 1941, Burgess and the 2nd Pioneer Battalion provided extra security for the 225th Battalion at Banas and set to work repairing bridges and roads sabotaged by Vichy French forces as they retreated from the area. This engineering work was never free from danger. As they were repairing roads, they routinely came under machine gun attack from enemy aircraft. On the 17th of June, Burgess and the 2nd Pioneer Battalion participated in an Allied attack on the important fort at Merjayoun. In this unsuccessful attack, A and B companies of Burgess's unit were ordered to conduct a frontal attack on formidable walls and machine gun positions, suffering heavy casualties. Burgess, who was in D Company, did not take part in the main attack, but did help to search the battlefield for wounded soldiers after the fighting. On the 22nd of June 1941, Burgess took part in a successful occupation of Fort Merjayoun, after it had been evacuated by retreating enemy forces. As Burgess and his comrades entered the abandoned fort, they came under attack from enemy artillery and aircraft fire, but suffered no casualties. Days later, on the 26th of June, Burgess and D Company of the 2nd Pioneer Battalion moved to the village of Balat to prepare for an attack on enemy positions at the top of a steep and rocky ridge, which overlooked a road vital for movement and supply in the difficult terrain. Burgess and his company were ordered to attack the high ground under support of Allied artillery and machine gun fire. Burgess's platoon formed the centre of the attack. At 1 a.m. on the 27th of June 1941, Burgess marched out from his camp and with his fellow troops moved into positions designated for the start of the attack. At 4:15 a.m, after a 10-minute artillery barrage, the Australian troops advanced across hundreds of metres of flat ground before beginning to make their perilous climb. As they climbed towards their objective, they came under heavy enemy machine gun, mortar and artillery fire. During this attack, Burgess received severe wounds, but due to the chaotic nature of the fighting, could not be evacuated from the battlefield. Mortally wounded, he lay where he fell while the battle raged around him. As the sun began to rise, the Australians realised that the objective could not be taken and withdrew from the attack. Burgess was finally evacuated and taken to hospital, but died of his wounds the following day. He was 23 years old. He is buried at the Kiryat Beach War Cemetery in Israel, where over 750 Commonwealth soldiers of the Second World War now lie. His grieving family left the inscription on his grave: "He fought the good fight." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Robert Nelson Burgess, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many men lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.